TV, gang, gang, gang. And today, I got a book for y'all today, today, today. And I got a book for y'all today. And I got a book for y'all today. And it's called Rough Men. And like I said in the description box, it's about it's a Eric Davis represents his heart trending and brutal rough men, dragging readers into the bleak mind and soul of a father whose bloody past won't stay behind him. And it says, it's a like a nightmare come true. Will Daniels turns his wayward son. I mean, Will Will Daniels learns his wayward son has been murdered helping the helping some jailhouse buddies rob a bank. He tries to let the police solve the crime, but they just seem to waffle over the investigation. So I'm reading the back of this. Oh, okay. So Will enlists old and dangerous allies from his criminal past to track down his son's killers and inflict a more personal form of a more and inflict a more personal form of justice, but as he continues his bloody march toward revenge, he may be forfeiting his last his last chance at redemption. Okay, y'all. Let's get into the book. Alright. I think I currently seen this book in the library, but I had this one already, so I just got it. Because it seems familiar. I guess that's the actual cover, and then this just because it's a cover not final, so I guess that's the real cover to it. And I think I might have seen this book in the library instead of this little cover shit. Alright, y'all, let's get right into it. I had this book for a long time now. Um, yeah. I apologize for the background, but I hope y'all can hear me. And yeah, let's just get right into it. It's a dedicated to the memory of Officer Trevor Slot. Okay, let's begin. And it doesn't have chapters, y'all, so we just gonna be reading until we feel like stopping. Okay, it say Alexis pushed the magazine into the Glock, pulled back the slide to verify the steel chambered round of .45 ACP at ammunition, and then hit the magazine release again. His hands were made of nervous energy, and messing with the gun was as good a way was as good a way to burn it off as any. Okay, the blunt he'd split with Rob and an hour earlier had him. I mean, yeah, had made him go from relaxed to paranoid to lazy, and now he was back to paranoid. He signed and set the re hold up. He signed and set the rechecked gun onto. What the fuck is your problem? Called. Hold up. He said, what the fuck is your problem? Called Chris from the buck, from the bucket seat beside. I mean, from the bucket seat behind Alex in the ancient Dodge Corvin. Oh, Coronin. I don't fucking know, y'all. you, you acting like you didn't already get your pussy wet, homie. Alex, Alex, Alex considered the words, then did his best to ignore them, killing that so-called snitch bitch earlier in the month had not been on his list of things to do in life. In fact, every moment since then had left almost dreamlike, as if calling as if killing that girl and she was just a girl. Chris and Mumbo had both confirmed that when they started fucking her a year ago, when she was just 15, had been something that had happened to some other Alex, and Alex who didn't regret every second since then, and Alex who wasn't sitting in a van waiting for waiting for the manager to leave a yeah, waiting for a manager to leave a Lake Michigan um credit union. Damn, why the fuck am I still fucking up? Alright, y'all. The credit, okay, a Lake Michigan credit union, the same manager who had been getting head on a consistent basis, what the fuck, from the snitch bitch, the same manager who had wanted to be long gone, yeah, wanted to be long gone when they went hot. Also, the same manager who had been paid off so well that he was willing to give up everything to let them run this shit. I'm reading this. Okay. Alex looked at the Glock one more time, heard Mumbo's cell phone ring on the kind of ringer that sounded like an old house phone. And then they all watched the manager leave the credit union. The plan was simple. Alex, Mumbo, and Chris were going to walk into the building while Rob drove around it. The manager had been intensive in oh okay. The manager had been intentionally getting sloppy about the vault for just over 6 months. So when the blame game started, he would just look like a shitty employee, not like someone who was in on the action. Alex didn't think it was going to make much of a difference. The dudes that set this whole thing up had made it very clear to him that he could come along for the ride and get paid or cash and burn. I mean, the dudes that set this whole thing up had made it very clear to him that he could come along with the ride. Come along for the ride and get paid or crash and burn. Alex figured the guy was fucked no matter the take from the credit union. He didn't see any way that he was going to get to just walk away. But he was going to just, I mean, he was going to get to just walk away. Rob gave him a look. Rob gave him a look that said, get on with it. And Alex stopped worrying about managers. He stuffed, yeah, he stuffed the Glock in a loose jacket pocket and got out of the van. He had a black duffel in his left hand and took a moment to pull a stocking cap over his face. Chris and Mumbo were doing the same thing with their own ski masks, but neither of them had bothered to try to disguise their guns, which is so dumb. But anyway, Mumbo was carrying a AK-47 with a holding stock and a short barrel. Chris had a pistol that he'd said was called the joke. What? The judge. A Brazilian shotgun in pistol form, which could fire .45 pistol loads as well as .410 shot shells. Alex Alex followed their lead and took the Glock from his pocket before following Mumbo through the door and into the building. Their suddenly appear their sudden appearance shook the packed room quietly, and then a little girl began to scream. Mumbo was rushing past him to the center of the room, and Chris vaulted over a teller's desk. Get the fuck up. Get the fuck back. He screamed. Get away from your fucking desk right now. Alex could see three lone officers sitting at desks to his left. One of them had been meeting with a client. This guy, the client, and one of the other lone officers rose and moved away from their desk. The one who wasn't moving, a slick-looking younger guy who looked like he should have been selling cars, had both hands under his desk, and without thinking, Alex raised the Glock and shot him twice in the chest. The Explosions were louder than hell in the small building. But the explosions were louder than hell in the small building, and now it felt like everyone was screaming, and Chris was repeating his mantras of get the fuck down and stay the fuck away from the desk. Alex leaped over the row of teller desk and joined Chris, who called to Mumbo, "You got this?" No, oh, he said, "You got this?" "You know I do," said Mumbo. "Now hurry the fuck up." Alex followed Chris to the waiting vault. It was open just as it was supposed to be, and on one of the walls was a rack of band bills, hundreds, fifties, and twenties. Alex fell to his knees and began throwing money into his duffel bag. The duffel bag became heavy with bills almost instantly. The sound of gunfire began pouring in from the main floor of the credit union. And then Mumbo was yelling something undistinguishably. Damn, they already getting crazy, y'all. They already getting crazy, y'all. Okay, realizing that Chris wasn't gathering money with him, Alex looked over his shoulder at him. Chris was pulling some things, papers it looked like, from a safe from a safety deposit box with a pair of keys still dangling from its lock. Chris locked Chris locked eyes with him, then turned back to slam the door closed before tossing it onto the floor and wheeling toward Alex, knocking the shelf of money all over the floor as he did so. Alex and Chris were scuffing like rats, filling their bags until they were impossibly full. Then shit, impossibly full, and then sprinting from the vault together. Mumbo had turned the credit union to a hellhole in the 90 seconds. In the 90 seconds that he'd been gone, two tellers were dead, and so were the remaining loan officers, as well as the customer. One of them had, customer. One of them had been talking to. Hold up. I'm reading it. I feel like I'm reading this wrong. Hold up. As well as the customer one of them had been talking to when they entered. Okay, I got it now. I almost read that so slow, yeah. Alright. But yeah, this book already jumping in there, bitch. Crazy, y'all. Motherfuckers robbing banks and shit. Like this shit. Anyway, it's about rough men. Rough men's. Oh, it's just me, but all right. All right, Jesus, said Chris. The fuck happened? Mumbo just grinned. Hold up. Mumbo just grinned, and then they were out of the bank, running to Rob as he pulled the van around. Exactly 2 minutes after they entered the building, they ain't. I said ain't. He ain't. I meant he ain't. Sorry. I'm trying to read that. Like, they yanked open the doors and pulled. I mean, and piled in, throwing the bags into the back seat. Alex felt like his heart was going to pound free from his chest. That was like being in a fucking movie. Calling a man, I say calling. Wait, scratch that. Scratch that. Okay. That was like being in a fucking movie. Killing the man in the bank had felt like had felt like doing the snitch. I mean, what? Oh, killing the man in the bank hadn't felt like doing the snitch. But I don't get it. Okay, I guess they both deserved it, but the fucker in the bank had been trying to burn them. Maybe even thought he had before he gotten shot. Okay, Alex set the Glock on his lap and pulled the mask off of his face. As the van ripped free from the parking lot, what happened in there? Said Rob. Sound like sound like I was back in Iraq. Damn. Damn. Shit hitting the fan, am I right? Funny as shit. The driver talking. Yeah, Rob is the driver. He talking. Okay. Anyway, he we had to put heat on some motherfuckers. Said Mumbo. They wasn't listening good enough. He wild as shit. They wasn't listening good enough. So you killed their ass because they wasn't listening good enough. Damn. Damn, Mumbo. And why your name Mumbo? Like mumbo sauce. I can't with these little rough niggas. That's what you should have called it. Hey, I cracked myself up. I can't deal with y'all, man. I cracked myself up. All right, let me finish. I hope it was worth it, said Rob. Every fucking cop in the country is going to be on this shit. Calm down, said Chris. What happened was only what had to happen. You knew that you knew that going in. Hey, don't forget you turn up there after that light. Oh, hey, don't forget you turn up there after that light. Do you want to fucking drive? Rob said, but scowling. Rob said, scowling. You, hey, you asked me to drive. Now let me drive. Barely audibly, sirens could be heard in the distance, but Alex looked over his shoulder between Mumbo and Chris. He could see traffic at a standstill by the credit union where they robbed the place. Damn, 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 damn. You better hit some cuts, boy. All right. But no, cops, at least not yet. Rob turned on their road, and Alex could see the old burn. Uh, and, and Alex could see the old barn where they stashed the other car and the shit to burn the van. Hurry up, called Chris. We need to get the fuck out of this car. Rob just grinned in response. Rob just grinned in response, but gravel flew. Gravel flew under their wheels as they pulled into the farms, forgetting. Oh, as they pulled into the farm's forgotten driveway. The barn, the barn. I sound like I'm country. The barn, the barn. All right, let me stop. Okay, the barn doors away from the drive were. I mean, the barn doors away from the road were open and waiting, and Rob pulled right in, stopping with a lurch that almost knocked Alex's Glock to the floor. Alex was second out of the van after Chris and Mumbo was handing them the bags from the back. By the time Alex got to Impala, the Impala. By the time Alex got into the Impala, Rob had already gotten the trunk open and he threw his bag in. Chris sat his in after Alex, and almost as an afterthought, Alex looked at Chris and said, "What was up with the safety deposit box, dude?" Just Chris looked over his shoulder at Mumbo, who was still next to the van, then turned back to Alex. He raised the judge, and Alex didn't even have time to react before thunder from the gun took apart half of his head. Oh my god. Damn. Damn, y'all. Next part. Y'all. Hey. Somebody just got they fucking wig blew back in the group. By somebody in the group. That's that snake shit. I'm trying to tell y'all, stop. Y'all better quit that shit. Let's go, y'all. Next part, which is no chapter, but we just gonna say chapter 2. Okay. Will Daniels was suffering through a severe case of writer's block. His publisher had recently rejected his new manuscript. Not that he faulted them for the decision, but if he wanted to belly up to the what the Q, I don't know, and kept his full-time writer thing going. He needed a story. He needed it now. But he had nothing. Hour upon hour, day upon day, nothing. That had never happened to him before. Ideas had come from the wellspring of his mind as though they were supposed to be there. He never had to ferret one out before. They just came to him, and he'd never even bother to say thank you. It was almost funny. He'd always had such a cavalier He always had such a cavalier attitude about his ideas and work. Plumbers don't get plumber. What? Plumbers don't get plumbers block. Oh, okay. Plumbers don't get plumbers block. He said one on more than one occasion, but those words left a mocking echo now, to say the very least. But the 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 core the what the cursor, I don't know, was teasing him, blinking over and over again. He'd tried just about everything to to fo- to force an idea from his head, and nothing he'd come up with had been worth a damn. Sure, Will had started stuff, gotten up to a few hundred words on some of them, but reading them later, it was clear that they had obviously been forced out by a man playing at being playing at being a writer. It was so damn frustrating. Every idea he had was either too similar to something he'd read recently, or just plain old suck. Just plain old suck. The worst part was that it wasn't like his publisher had such high expectations for him. All they wanted was a manuscript that would be easy to market and sell. Really? He should have the world by the balls. But Will felt like he'd taken a melon baller to his brain, getting his first two books on paper. Can y'all close the door and talk about it? Anyway, Will's first published novel had been a YA book titled The Fort, a clean let little story engine. It had just popped hole into his head. Three boys found three boys find an old tree house in the woods, and while they're playing in it, one day they look down and see a man kill a young girl. The boys tell their parents, and a massive search is called, but nobody or evidence is recovered. And the boys are accused of lying for attention, since no one else is trying to solve the problem, since no one else is trying to solve the crime, or even believes that one was committed. The boys decide to solve it themselves. The fort had told only I mean the fort had sold only moderately well, but the reviews had been amazing. Will didn't mind it. Will hadn't minded a bit that it had brought him only a pit pittance pittance. I don't know. He had created something of he had created something of worth that both his publisher and the critical world at large agreed had merit. Merit. I don't know. The reception to the second book had had been much different. Broken Bottles had been written as a supernatural horror novel about a bartender, his friends, and the things that they were losing while they ignored the reality of their collapsing lives. That book had come easily to Will as well, though it had though it had cut closer to the bone like his hero. He'd been working as a bartender his entire adult life. The bartender in the book had a caring wife and a fucked up for a son and a fuck up. I mean, okay, had a caring wife and a fuck up for a son, just like he did, and they were both desperate to escape, yeah, to escape the bar scene and make life right for their families. The bartender in the book, a man named Trent, had been unable to escape his demons, both real and those created by a mind poisoned by drink. Will had better luck. Broken Bottles earned lukewarm reviews. Nothing crazy terrible or crazy good. Just sort of me. And in a preverse reversal, in a preverse reversal of his first book's fate, though his publisher had sold the hell out of Broken Bottles. Tip, tip, tippet critical reception had been damned. Sorry. And the second book's sales lift up the demand for his first one. Fewer than 6 months after Bottles had debated on shelves and Kindles, Will really did escape from his bartending job. A fate Trent was not to share in the novel. Um, Retiring from the bar and the bar scene had likely saved his life and had certainly saved his marriage. Allison was a fighter. She'd been there for him while he'd worked at all hours and drank like a fish. But she turned colder on both counts to I mean but she turned colder on both counts. The older he got, the colder still after his 40th birthday. Oh, 40th. My bad, y'all. And colder still after his 40th birthday. The success of bottles had been a miracle for them, or at least as close to one as Will could ever allow himself to believe in. But now, but now if he but now if he didn't get his shit together, he was going to need another miracle. And the prospects of that were dim as hell. Were dim as hell. Going back to the bar after leaving with such fanfare wasn't on wasn't I mean with such fanfare wasn't an option his brain could quite wrap itself around. It wasn't like he wouldn't get the job back. He'd likely be met he'd likely be met with open arms. He'd create most of his bad memories there years earlier. Back then, back when he still needed cocaine to stay up late and was hitting on everything with a short skirt and a pulse. Manage, hold up. Was hitting on everything with a short skirt and a pulse. Marriage or no marriage, Allison had never busted him. Not exactly anyway, but his sad, drunken, misadventures with other sad drunks had cast a sheen of doubt over their struggling marriage like a cow cow call. Um, so my apologies for the background, y'all. You need to close the door so I can read. But anyway, my apologies for the backgrounds. Stormy, y'all. That's why I don't like being here. But anyway, especially when I'm recording. But anyway, it had never been just about the infidelity, the bottomless bottles of booze, or the work that never seemed to stop. Alex, his son from a long gone former girlfriend, had been as much of a problem as everything else combined. Will himself had run with a bad crowd when he was young, had had done a lot of drugs and some worse things that he wasn't too proud of. But the arrival of his son, the departure of the boy's mother, and picking just the right night to bow out of an ill-fated smash and grab B&E, all according all occurring within a year of one another, had combined to shake most of the wow from him. Nothing like nothing Nothing like that had happened to Alex. Will had never gotten the right handle on his son. God knew it wasn't Allison's fault, though she blamed herself despite the fact that he'd been 5 when they'd forgotten. I mean, they'd gotten married. Sorry, y'all. Alice, yeah, Alex had just always been off, and the resentment over his missing mother just never seemed to go away. Even when fucking ants getting on my nerves, y'all. I needed some water. Hold on. Okay, even when it would seem like things were fine for weeks and even months at a time, the boy had gone from skipping school and smoking when he was only 8 to shoplifting and drug use before he dropped out of middle school to finally oh my god, to finally wind up in the alternative high school. Yeah, the all I mean alternative. I'm sorry, I don't fucking know. Alternative high school a year early. Not that he not that he not that he stayed there. Of course, at 16, Alex at 16, Alex was gone. Will and Allison heard from him on occasion in the 5 years after that, but they never been able to spare the money he was looking for. I just ate some of the and some more salad. Man, you ruining my video. Can you hurry up? No, it ain't. Come on. No, it's not. Okay. You're ruining my video. You come on that plate. That's a little plate. That's going in the trash. This is what I need my own space. Yeah, that's good. You're ruining the fucking video. Nobody want to hear you in the background of a reading. Nick is really pissing me off right now. Okay, that's what I said. What's the most out of that? One that it's tiny. I hate when people drink. That man how long ago? It's real pissing me off. Can't get fucking focus. Today is the 18th of April. They got married on the 29th of March. Can you? Exactly. You better not eat that. And your ass gonna be. Thank you. And y'all probably still can fucking hear him. Will and Allison heard from him on occasions in the 5 years after that, but they never been able to spare the money he was looking for, and the trips to see him in jail were always awful. Alex was piling up a record that would have that would have made even a young Mom ain't ass, like I said. Ain't nobody trying to kill you. I said it wasn't no more salad. You determined. My own food. You
Can
determined
you
it's
close
gonna
the
be some damn salad, and I
door?
said ain't no more. And then you want eggs. But it is some salad. Was I wrong? It is salad, but it was alone. I told you no, and you want to put your finger in it and taste. Go to the bathroom and come home. Let's watch water boy. What that got to do with anything? And all you had to do was just get your ass up. Because you want to be harassing me.
My man knows I don't want to be here. Because this is what I gotta fucking do.
Okay. How many did you know drunk? And how many more times you gonna go? A bunch. I ain't worried about who paid me, right? Sir. Yeah. Why you go
Alex
back in the
was
kitchen when
piling
we
up
get
a
right here?
record
Come
that
on.
would have made even a young Will pale
I wanted to put
and force
the
the
back in the
older
refrigerator.
on the older one to
Okay, fuck it. I
the
wanted to put this
to the
back because this
bar,
was I knew
but
that's what you
also
had.
to the
No, I
keyboard.
moved that out the
Now
way to get the. I knew
sitting
it was some wasabi
before
in there.
his
I was going for
but
food. I wasn't thinking about this
hit
shit. I know you
hit
got this
till
today.
hit hit was
Whatever.
um cures curso cursor Will felt as Will felt as stumbled as he had as he had risen Alex when those threads had come loose in his fingers. Allison had picked up the pieces and let him hide from his damaged son in work. Writing had come as a blessing in the year after Alex had mostly disappeared, but now sitting with no muse, no contact with his son, and a wife almost certainly expecting him to come to bed soon, it was all Will could do not to drink. He still did partake he still did partake, of course, and even put on like he could still be the life of the party if he would just let himself cut loose. Yet the drinking was tempered and act for friends that was trying to say that he really could just have a couple and still have fun. Allison had long ago forbade what yeah forbade I don't know alcohol in the house, a reasonable rule. I wish I can just get up and go to my man's house like right now if I had a car. Because a reasonable rule and in I mean a reasonable rule considering his unreasonable past. He didn't think alcohol would help, not really, but it would be a temporary tart tort I don't know, tort patch of gravel to soothe the raw road of intention he felt, as though he were carving into his brain. It had all become a pretty straightforward situation in his mind, and one he was one he was scared to even tell Allison about, in order for him to stay away from booze or a 12-step program. He had to write. If he slipped on a if he slipped on a brown bag of the good stuff, he was one day closer to working in the bar again. And working there was what had inspired so many benders in the first place. So to make it all work the way work oh so make it so to make it all work the way he wanted it to, he needed to write stave stave off the demon saying what stave off the demon on his own and not work on the bar ever again. Yet at the same time, he felt a terrible selfish need to hang on to liquor as well. He wanted more. He wanted more than anything to be the man he never had been, the guy who had a scotch with dinner and could stop right there. He wanted to be himself, a man that the bar wasn't in control of, but for that he needed a story. The stories can be heard to I mean the stories can be hard to find when you go looking for one. There, rather than letting one find you, rather than letting one find you. Checking the clock on the bottom right of his laptop screen, we'll consider the time 12:30 a.m. Though there was nothing to wake up for tomorrow but the fucking ever blinking cor the cursor. I don't fucking know what he's saying. Okay. He'd once again neglected his bed and his wife for far too long. He folded the laptop closed and trotted upstairs, depressed and a little shocked that once again he'd gone a day with nothing to show for it, and certainly nothing to offer his publisher for the following year. Will brushed his teeth, spitting into the sink and running wet hands over his face, made made the mistake of looking up. He was somehow still surprised on a daily basis just how old, how hag- haggard, and how old and haggard and gray that young man he used to he used to be was getting. It was like looking into a mirror that broadcast the future. He certainly didn't feel different than he had as a child, more easily tired, maybe, and certainly with less of a temper. But despite his mirror's insistence that he was slowly turning into an old picture of his father, he still felt like Will. He shut off the water and then the light flicked off the hallway light behind him as he walked into the bedroom and slid under the sheets, feeling Allison's warmth and smelling her feeling Allison's warmth and smelling her, two things he could never imagine tiring of. Nothing, she asked the dark. No luck. No, said Will. But how did you know? And why aren't you asleep? If you'd been writing, I'd have heard your fingers at least a little bit. When your fingers really started attacking the keyboard, or did you forget killing a key? Oh, or did you forget killing a laptop on the last one? He hadn't forgotten. He'd felt like an idiot when the keys had started turning to dead zones under his fingers. Not that the machine hadn't already been on its last legs, dead pixels, speckling the screen like dirt, shutting off on its own whenever, yeah, on its own whenever it felt overworked. He'd taken to writing it at the library before shifts, which had only come to light when Allison told him he was leaving if he didn't either come clean about the girl that or tell him what the hell was yeah or tell him what the hell was going on. When he'd come home from the bar that night, bombed. Hold up. When he'd come home from the bar that night, bombed, a new laptop was sitting on, yeah, a new laptop was sitting on his desk. He'd written until morning, drunk or not, and the chapters mashed into the new keyboard smashed into the new keyboard that night had forged a part of bottles that was among those he was most proud of. Allison switched on the bedside lamp and then turned, leaning toward him on an elbow, her night tie, her nightie shifting in a way that would have been very intacking and what intacking ticking if Will had managed to expel, expel. I don't know, even a a few words downstairs. She said, I could go back to school. I only need a few more credits, a year tops, and I'd be all set. We've got enough money now to get us there, and it's not like they're it's not like they're not still selling. If you want to go back to school, that's fine with me, but don't do it on my account. I'm the one who thought he was a big shot and ready to get out of the fucking bar. Allison frowned, and Will was sorry he'd mentioned the bar at all. Some things, though, in the past will always show a person's scars far, I mean, person's scars off for the world to see. And for Allison, those scars had been left by Will. With the bar as an unwitting accomplice. I'm not going back, he assured her. I'm just saying, maybe I left a little early. Maybe my my muse needs me to work to generate ideas. If that's all your muse needs, smirked Alex. If that's all your if that's all your muse needs, smirked Allison, tell her to get your ass out back and weed my garden. She smiled at him, the same smile that had made him notice her in the first place, that had made him fall in love with her, and that had made him still love her. She wasn't like she wasn't like him. Her face was maturing with age, not suffering like his, not turning into the father he hated and respected right up until the old man put his hand over his heart, said, I feel like shit, and died right there at dinner. A quiet joke in the a quiet joke in the family that could still get some what what yucks if his brother Isaac and he were drinking. The only time Dad had ever dared, yeah, only time Dad had ever dared swear at the dinner table, and it had taken him fucking dying to do it. I'm going I'm going to get some beauty sleep, said Allison. And you, my writer man, you get some sleep and find that muse and tell her to give you some words. You're good at this. Beating yourself up is just going to make it worse. Yes, ma'am, he said as she turned off the light. We'll both get those winks. We need to look and write good together and write good tomorrow. Nestling back into him, she said, well, I'm going to look good tomorrow either way. Fair point, said Will as he closed his eyes. And just like every other night where he'd been positive he'd never sleep. He was out before he knew what before he knew what had hit him. Okay. Will, Allison was shaking on his arm like she meant to tear it off, her tone charged with with hushed dead of night panic. She said, get up right now. I think someone's trying to break in. He was awake. He was awake then, awake and moving. Hold on, what? He was awake then, awake and moving, peeling off the covers, opening the drawer and his nightstand. Opening the drawer of his nightstand, load, taking out the loaded sig, Sarah, sig. Hold up, taking out the loaded sig. What Sayer 1911 and Surefire flashback. What? Okay, Allison was holding a 9mm sig of her own. She looked terrified but determined. Is is tonight the night that our son and his asshole friends break in? They'd been worried about it for so long, had been study had been readying themselves for it, though excuse me, y'all. Though they never said as much to each other, what else would the guns have been for? Will walked out of the bedroom, the sig pointed at the floor with his finger on the trigger guard and the steel off, flashlight balanced on his other hand. Flashlight balanced in his other hand. He crept down the stairs. The beating on the door started up again. A distraction thought, a distraction thought Will. Why else would they be knocking? He'd seen the clock. It was past 3 in the morning. The knocking continued, and Will moved off the steps, checking left and right of the foyer dining room, then the parlor, parlor, before stepping close to the door. "I don't know who are you," he called, but I'm armed, and it would be a good idea for you to leave." The beating stopped, introducing a silence like a living thing. It seemed to last for minutes, yet was only seconds in length. Finally, the door knocker spoke. "Sir, I am a detective with the Kent County Sheriff's Department. I would I would ask that you disarm yourself and open the door. I would not be pleased if you still holding a weapon when you do so. Could it be a trick?" Will pushed the thought aside. If it was a good one. He set his gun and flashlight down on the table next to the door, atop a pile of ignored mail. "My door is bolted and chained," he called. I have set down my firearm and will release the bolt, but not the chain. If you don't if you don't mind, slip me one of your cards though. I mean, slip me one of your cards through the gap. Will undid the bolt, staring at the 1911 on the table, knowing that this probably was a cop and that everything was going to be fine. Alex got arrested again, maybe. Hold up, Alex got arrested again, maybe graduated to something really bad this time, except that really didn't ring true. Oh, except that really didn't ring true. Cops don't come around like errand boys to let everyone know that their asshole son has been arrested. Much less detectives. These thoughts overpowered his fear and overpowered his fear of an intruder, and feeling quite numb, Will released the chain and opened the door. Be, the detective standing before him was holding a white business card in his fingers. Started, started, yeah, startled to have the door swing open so rapidly. The detective's hand went to his hip, the card falling to the patched stoop. The ice patched stoop. Will could feel eyes probing, probing, I don't know, probing him for a gun. None of this was going right. Why was this cop here at all? Convinced Will was unarmed, the detectives knelt to to retrieve the card. It had a damp it had a damp corner, but was otherwise immaculate. The detective handed it to him, and Will read it as the detective said his name, Detective Ryan Van Endel. He was he was of just above average height and build, a little pungy, punchy, pungy. around the midsection and had a mustache that was more salt than pepper. Ever you, I mean, sorry, are you Will Daniels? Said Van Il, said Van Endel, and it was all Will could do to nod, knowing already what was to come, by praying the words wouldn't come from his, wouldn't come from this stranger's mouth. Mr. Daniels, I have some terrible news. Your son, Alex Daniels, was found dead 3 days ago. 3 days? Will repeated. He gave his head he gave his head a short, hard shake, trying to process this. My boy's been dead for 3 fucking days, and you come to my house in the middle of the goddamn night. Are you insane? Why wasn't I notified immediately? Mr. Daniels, would you mind if I step inside? There's a few things you have to know, and I'm sure you're going to have more questions. Who is it, Will? Called Allison from the darkness at the top of the stairs, and both men jumped at her voice. It's a detective, Allie. Why don't you sit? Oh, why don't you set down your what? Why do you say set? You mean sit? Why don't you set down your pistol and come on down here? He was. He has some bad news for us. Allison was there in an instant. The color drained from her face. He's dead, isn't he? She stammered. Alex is dead. Is our son dead? Detective Van Endel nodded grimly. I'm sorry to say that he is, ma'am. Would you and Mr. Daniels mind if I come in so we could talk about this further? I was just telling your husband he's been dead for 3 fucking days. Will spat. Will spat, unable to hold back the rage in his voice. Our son has been dead for 3 days, and this is how they tell us. Allison's face somehow paled even further. Her skin was practically translucent now. In a very small voice, she said, why don't you come in, detective? I'll put I'll put some coffee on. Will watched in what incredulous what Will watched in incred incredulously, I don't know, at this detective. This liar was allowed into his home. How could Alex have been dead for 3 days without them knowing? More importantly, how could his son, as troubled as he was, be dead at all? Van Endel passed him, and then Will followed his wife and the detective into their kitchen, his mind full of black thoughts. His only son was dead. For the first time in a great while, Will had completely forgotten about his writer's block. Will made the coffee, despite Allison's suggestions that she would do so. It was a ritual he'd been in charge of from the start of their relationship. This had its genesis in his alcoholism, only he could balance exactly what his stomach could tolerate against how strong he needed the coffee to be in order for him to function, drinking or not, and these days mostly not. The job of making coffee was still his. Will made the coffee with fingers that seemed to have lost all muscle memory, every action requiring complex thought as he loaded the water and grounded beans into the machine. Your son, Alex, was found shot to death in an abandoned barn about 2 miles from the East Beltline, said Van Endel. On the north end, between pan, between plain, between Plainfield and Rockford. Damn. I still don't understand why it took 3 days for you to tell us what was going on, Will said with conscious effort, containing his rage as he poured a measured scoop of grounds into the cone-shaped coffee filter. We have rights, and if you think I won't be calling my lawyer in the morning, you're sadly mistaken. Will, said Allison, make the coffee and let the man speak. There's clearly more to it, right, detective? Yes, ma'am. I want to warn you though, what I'm going to tell you will explain why we were unable to contact you, but it's probably going to make this a good deal harder for both of you. We can handle it, Will said. Van Endel nodded, then turned to Allison. Are you sure you feel the same way, Mrs. Daniels? Allison nodded, and Will could see the truth sinking into, I mean, in on sinking in on her face now looking nearly what Jaundice Jaundice under the table lighting. Your son was found Your son was found buried beyond recognition recognition in the remains of an abandoned barn next to a van that had also been burned. The van and your son are both considered to have been involved in the robbery of killings that took place at the Lake Michigan Credit Union branch in a few, I mean, branch a few miles from there. You've heard about the robbery? Will mouthed assent And Allison nodded. Alex was involved in that bloodbath. Alex was in, Alex was involved in that bloodbath. The robbery was all the news had been talking about for days. How three armed gunmen had broken the ancient rule of armed robbery, gunning down innocent people who'd been doing what they had been told. He's what we know. Here's what we know so far. At 11:45 a.m. on Tuesday, your son and two other men entered the credit union. One of the men, who I believe to be Alex, shot a lone officer who was attempting to trigger the silent alarm. Alex and one of the other suspects went into the Alex and one of the other suspects went into the vault. There's there's video there's video of them stealing a great deal of marked bills, and the third accomplice opened fire with a rifle inside the credit union lobby. As you as you might have heard, four people have been pronounced dead, not counting Alex, with two more in critical condition. None of those people are likely to survive. One of them is a little girl who was shot in the back of the head. Oh my God. She was there with her parents, both of whom are dead now. Even if she does live, she's going to be a vegetable. This is crazy, y'all. Detective Van Endel looked at his hands, which he'd begun clenching and then unclenching as he spoke. Now he opened his fists one last time and laid his palms flat on the glass tabletop. The three suspects then left the credit union and got in a van, believed to be the one found ugh, believed to be the one found burned among with your son and disappeared. Smoke lead us. I mean, Smoke led us to the fire, which was very far along by the time the firefighters could get to it. Even so, a fragment of your son's driver's license was discovered intact in what little was left of his wallet. We're pause. So you're not sure? Will said that body could have been Van Endel. Lift one palm from the tabletop to quiet him. I'm sorry, sir, and yes, we'll need your help to obtain your son's dental records, but I don't want to provide you any false hope. We're quite certain the body is your son's. I apologize again for the delay in relaying this information to you. For what it's worth, I've only just come from the lab. Will's mind spun pointlessly for a while, and then he found himself saying, yes, he was always difficult, more than just difficult, but Alex, dot, dot, dot. He would never kill another person, not without good reason. I know my son. Dot, dot, dot. I know him, dot, dot, dot. I only I only know what I see, sir. I see it over and over, though. I would guess that your son went to jail thinking he was a bad dude and then came out friends with some truly bad dudes and then maybe these dudes talked him into doing some things you just can't imagine him doing. It's a terrible thing, but it happens. As I said, I've seen it over and over. And then it's likely that he either offended one of his partners or who knows questioning who question who or who knows questioned the killings. There could be 100 different reasons for them to have turned on him. Will tried to imagine Alex pushing back on the killers, facing up to them. It was a stretch. He couldn't imagine his son killing anybody, but he couldn't see him playing such a noble part either. All the same, he appreciated Van Endale offering up the possibility. So what now? Allison asked. What do we do now? Well, we're going to have to wait for forensics to finish up with Alex before we can release the boy. Before we can release the body to you, it might be a bad idea to talk to your church if you have one, but whatever your family prefers for funeral arrangements. What are the chances that the men who killed my son will be caught? Said Will. The egg, the oh yeah, the edge was back in his voice. He tried he tried to temper it as the words came out, but it didn't work. It's highly likely that some manner of evidence will make itself known. That could be though Alex's Alex's associates behind bars of or his friends on the outside. Someone knows what happened to him, and they had to have been pretty tight if they trusted him enough to rob a bank with him. That person is still out there, and I will find him. I truly believe that. Do you have any more questions for me? Allison shook her head and Will muttered a a barely audible no. If you come up with anything later, please let me know. Also, if you can think of anything who I mean and also if you could if you can think of anyone who would have wanted to hurt your son or who he may have associated with in the past, let me know. Detective Van Endel stood. I'm truly sorry about your loss. Will stood and shook Endel's hand and then led the detective out into the blowing into the blowing snow. Will's woke Will woke just after 6 o'clock. Surprised that he'd been able to sleep, Allison gone from their bed was confirmation that none of it had been a dream, that Alex really was dead. He pulled on a pair he pulled on a pair of warm up pants, brushed his teeth, and went downstairs. Allison was waiting for him at the kitchen table in the seat she'd been in when they talked to the detective. The night before, she was drinking the coffee that he'd made, then had forgotten to have or share with the detective. She looked at him and said, I hope you don't blame me for any of this. You, said Will, why in the world would I blame you? I'm the one who raised him. I was his mother, whether I birthed him or not. Oh, I'm the one who raised him. I was his mother, whether I birthed him or not. He's my only child, and now he's dead. You put me in charge of one thing, the most important thing, and now he's gone. We could have done more. I should have done more. Will sat and moved to grab her hand, but she snatched it away. Look, he said, there's no blaming you or anyone else that wasn't there when he died. Alex made some bad choices and as hard as this is going to be, we don't need to beat each other up. Oh, we don't need to beat each other up over it. Will didn't say what wasn't going to need their help to beat up what was left of their family. Alex was going to be a scapegoat for the crimes that had taken place before his death, and nothing was going to change that until his murders were caught. And even even that wouldn't be good enough for those who really knew the victims. Nothing was ever going to be the same, and there was nothing he could do about it. I'm, I'm going to wait a couple of hours, Will said, and then I'm going to call my brother and Lou. I need to give I need to give out Isaac a heads up about Alex, and I want to talk to Lou about getting our ducks in a row. Literal, shit. About getting our ducks in a row, legally speaking. Before I do, before I do any of that, though, we need to talk about what we want to happen. You mean with Alex? Yes. She sipped, hold up, yeah, she sipped from her coffee. Will could feel her hollow eyes looking through him. Alex had been her son more than his. Even though she shared no blood with the boy, it was at it was at that precious instant that he realized just how awful a father he'd been, and that there never was going to be a moment when Alex turned his life around, or when the two of them could make things right to create the sins of the father and of the son. You mean like, what are we going to do with him once the cops release the body? Because we had a plan. Do you want to change it? He's still your son. He's still my son. And nothing he did changes what we wanted for him, dead or alive. I guess it seems weird, stammered Will. With what happened to him, I feel odd going through with a cremation. It seems morbid, almost. It seems morbid, almost cruel. And even if we do, are we still going to want? Hmm, Give me a second, y'all. Okay, that's the next page. All right. We have we have had a we have had a will written since you turned 30, she said, your voice slowly rising, and nowhere in it does it say that if our son does something too awful, we don't want his ashes spread where ours are going to be spread. He is my fucking son, and you are not going to let something he probably did high out of his mind affect where he ends up now. He was a troubled boy and he died a troubled death. That doesn't mean that he couldn't be sweet and that we didn't love him. Allison's Allison's speech smuttered off and turned to tears, unsure he if he should try to comfort her. Will instead did nothing, just sat at his kitchen table, feeling like the worst person in the world, a man who had failed his child. Her anger her anger shocked him. He knew it had come from a deep well of dislike that she suppressed dislike for him and his many failings as a man, husband, and father. He took her hand. She didn't snatch it away this time. Not yet. You're right, he said. Completely right. When I talk to Lou, I'll have him do what needs to be done to get out Isaac to the funeral home. I've never dealt with anything like this before, not as the person who has to help make things happen. And I'm terrified I'll get it wrong somehow. Allison squeezed his hand, and almost smiled at him. We're going to do fine. I'm sorry, my leg itchy. Hold on, y'all. Hold up. All right, we're going to do fine. All right, I'm right there. So hold on, y'all. I need to get myself together. It is currently, hold on. It is currently 10:04. All right, y'all. It's currently 10:04. Little situation together and get comfortable. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. I'm getting my life together right now. Getting my life together. Okay. Whew. Y'all ready? What's my phone on? It's fine. Yeah, okay. Alright. So, okay. Mm, I gotta find it again, y'all. Hold on. Oh, okay. There are worse things ahead than just planning a funeral. This all feels like a dream. This all feels like a dream. Pretty soon, it won't feel like that at all. Will wanted to, okay, Will wanted wanted to say something, to correct her, to let her know that everything really would be all right. Instead, he stood and poured himself a cup of coffee, feeling like he was watching himself in a dream. Will left Allison in the kitchen, punching his older brother's number into his cell phone he went, as it as it began to rain. He took a seat on the couch and tried to settle on the last time they had talked and figured it out. Figured it had to have happened around Christmas, he had no memory. Though he had no memory of it. How sad is that? I'm calling my brother to ask him for help, and I can't even remember the last time we talked. Isaac answered on the third ring, and the call had obviously awkward him. In any other circumstance, Will would have felt terrible, but of course this was different. Will, yeah, man, yeah, man, sorry for calling so early. Is everything all right? No, not at all. When did she leave? What? No, man. Ali is still here. It's Alex. He's dead. Will could practically hear his older brother waking up as if he'd dumped a bucket of ice cold of ice water over him. What? Alex? How? He was shot to death. We found out last night. Did you hear about the bank robbery here? Yes, of course, said Isaac, his voice broken. I only live an hour away. We still get the news. Then slowly, Isaac stood understood. Was he a part of it? Was he a part of that? This is this is it. The lowest point of my life when I tell people that my son was in a bank it when it got robbed, that he killed an innocent man. He was. I'm sure there will be more information on the news soon, but you can hear it from me first. Something got crooked with him and his dick, dick bag buddies. One of them shot Alex, and then they set him on fire. Will choked for a second, took a deep breath, and continued. Cops found the boy. I mean, I keep saying boy. Cops found the body 3 days ago, within an hour or so after the robbery scene was secured. I would reckon they're going to pull they're going to pull dental records to confirm it for sure. But yeah, they're sure it's him. He's in bad shape. I haven't seen him and think it might be best for my own sanity if I don't. When do when do you need me to come up there? I don't need you to. Not exactly. I don't need you to. Not exactly. Allison and I are going to give him the same send off we'd always planned. Pour his ashes by the Mackinac Bridge. Same thing we want for our own when the time comes. I'd love if you were up north for that. I'm only calling so that you can know that your little brother is still fucking things up. Isaac signed. You can blame yourself all you want, Will, if that's what you're in the mood for. You and I both know that I love that boy, loved that boy as much as anyone. But if you and I were bad seeds, and we were, that kid was a bad apple tree, dropping rotten apples all over the place. Isaac stopped himself as though he could feel Will's rage rising through the phone. Why Am I even mad? We both know it's the truth. Isaac broke the silence. I know you're going to blame yourself, and so is Ollie. But she was a good mother to him, and you weren't enough of a fuck up to undo all the good she was doing. At least not on your own. The kid was bad, stop, no offense. And that had and that led him to getting killed. Another sign. You getting mad at me yet? No. Will grinned in spite of himself. He was a fuck up. And you're right. So were we. And mom and dad were no carnival ride themselves, but we made it out okay. We've done great. We've done great for years, and I've got my writing thing going now. Why couldn't Alex? Why couldn't Alex come around? You're forgetting or lying to yourself, said Alex. Said Isaac. Sorry. They all sound almost the same. Okay, anyway. His voice momentarily taking on the agitating static that cell phone users were so used to, then returned to normal. Took you almost going to jail, maybe even prison, and then going on a bender that only ended when someone gave you a shoulder to cry on could tell and said you could tell stories. Alex never got enough of an eye opener to make him knock it off. I did. So did you. So did you. You? What the fuck ever happened to you? The same guys you were running with had older brothers, and if you recall, I quit when I got deep enough in shit. When I discovered that I'd I'd been involved in ripping off a store run by actual tough guys, I decided I'd had enough. Why didn't you ever tell me? Will, I've been telling you that story my whole life. You you just never felt like listening until right now. I'll be up this afternoon. I'd ask you to have Ali make me a bed, but I think I'll let her mourn and let you do the busy work. Thanks, bro, said Will. I think I'll feel better seeing you in person. I can't feel any worse. The next few days will, every second is going to be worse. Damn. Back in the kitchen, Will set his phone on the table and his coffee and sipped at his coffee. In his dreams, the coffee was a whiskey. His son was alive. He still smoked cigarettes, and his wife didn't look like she might be finally learning how to hate him. Isaac coming up. said Alice. Asked Allison. Sorry. It would be nice to see him. Shit, any distraction would be welcome. Alright. Yup. But yup sounds that way. Might crash on the sofa for a couple days. Pain again. Alex's room could finally be a guest room. Though through her Alex's guest room. Alex's room could finally be a guest room. Throw what was left on his stuff out. Hold up. I mean, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm burnt out. Throw what was left of his stuff out, and there would be a spare space for anyone who needed one. The way things were headed, he himself might need that room. Will felt insane, both despite for a drink. I mean, Will felt insane, both desperate for a drink and scared of what might happen. Where I mean, what might happen were he to have one. I'm going to call Lou, he said. He's either in the office by now or not coming in at all. Lou answered on the first ring, putting on a feminine voice. Whoa, what the fuck you got? Putting on a feminine voice and not doing a terrible job of it. Lou, what? Hold up, Lou. What? What? Satchels? I don't know. Associate and associates. Lou, this is Will Daniels. One moment, please, said the phone. What? One moment, please, said the phone, and Will roared back. God damn it, Lou. I know you fired Jen months ago. No way. God damn it, Lou. I know you fired Jen months ago. This is Will Daniels. Can we speak straight? I need I need to step up a time to see you today. I need I need to set up a time to see you today. Nothing but hold music. He hadn't started yelling quickly enough, or else he had, and his beyond shady lawyer hadn't liked the sound of it. This was how Lou had always been, all flash, but he'd been even worse since his last divorce. Will sat listening to the boss doing dancing in the dark, dancing in the dark while he waited for his stupid lawyer to stop playing games. Roughly 2 minutes later, long enough for Will to stop him to stop himself twice from singing along with from singing along with Springsteen. Springs stink singing along with Springs team. I don't know. Lou was Lou was on the line. This is Lou, but such a I don't know. I don't know this man's last name of Lou and associates. Said Lou in a what syrupy sweet voice. The one he used years earlier typing the ad that still aired on aired night on late night aimed on late night cable, luring in idiotic drunk drunk drivers and low level drug officers. I mean drug I said drug officers. I meant drug offenders. What can I help you with today, friend? God damn it, Lou. Knock it off. This is Will Daniels. Oh, good to hear from you, buddy. The forced the forced accent had fallen away. Glad to hear from you. How are you? How are things? Not good. My son Alex is dead. Will took a deep breath. Hang up. Hang I mean Will took a deep breath. Hang on, don't talk yet. There's more to it. The cops are pretty sure he was involved in that credit union shootout and that something went wrong later between him and his partners. Damn, Will, I'm really sorry to hear that. This is the part where I would usually ask what you want me to do, but how about you just tell me what you're thinking and I'll offer advice when you're done. Will noticed that he was unconsciously drumming his fingers on the table and forced himself to stop. The cops are holding Alex's body until their forensic team is done with him. I want you to make sure my son's body makes it to what the 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 what is it crematory what create what oh yeah, my tongue cannot pronounce this. Hold on. Sometimes certain words my tongue cannot pronounce it. Hold on, give me a second, y'all. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. Hold on. Crematory cream cream. Yeah, I'm laughing at myself. Give me a second, y'all, because I'm trying to get my tongue right with the word. Okay, hold on. The crematorium, right? Crem, the little cremation place. Yeah. I crack my fucking self up trying to fucking pronounce certain words. Like the little cremation place. That's what they trying to say, okay? Fuck it. Okay. Hmm. take ice break. I think it's crematorium. And that's another issue. Allison and I have Alice and I have known for a long time what we wanted done with our bodies, but we never picked a place to do it. Assuming you know of someone you trust, I'd be happy with your advice on that. I think that's everything. Well, that's a good start. Do you want me to lean on the cops? See if we can get Alex released any faster? No, he's dead, and I'd rather he was able to I'd rather he was able to help them find out who killed him. That's the sensible thing, said Lou. I thought I thought it was worth asking though. Makes some people sick. The idea of autopsies and such. All right. Well, it does so happen I know a guy who works in the business of cremation and he does a serious job of it. Not one of those assholes you see on the news, triple stacking bodies and then handing out bags of ash of whomever. Damn. A patch of dead air. Shit, Will. Shit, Will. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking like that. Anyway, I assume the press doesn't know yet because if 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 they did know, they'd be crawling up your ass by now. First thing you do when we hang up is to change your mailbox messages on your phones and say something like, to speak with Will or Allison Daniels, please contact them through their attorney Lou, and tack then tack on the phone number. I'll drop by in a couple hours with a sign that says the same thing that I'll put up in your yard. I'm not going to lie. At some point, you're going to have to release some sort of statement, but using me as a buffer will add some time. The next thing you need to do is be ready. I mean, thank God you're not some household name, but people are going to be saying nasty things about you on the web. You might even get a nasty phone call or two. Your son and his friends hurt a lot of people, and no one knows why. It sounds like you're not planning a funeral, but that doesn't mean that you won't have to deal with some serious assholes. That all sound good so far? Yeah, thanks, Lou. I won't say you made me feel better, but it's nice knowing you have a plan for this sort of thing. Well, Will, I hate to be in such a sad time, but I've got a plan for just about everything. One last thing, stay away from the news, stay away from the internet. Don't worry, I'll be in touch. And you can call me if anybody tries to put your nuts in a vase. In a vice. Alright. Lou was good to Lud was good to his word. In fact, he was still in the yard instead installing the sign when the first news van rolled up. This one from Fox 17, watching Lou and the falling snow through a barely cracked window blind. Will considered going outside. After all, Fox had given him coverage for both books and he recognized the reporter. That's Michelle De Palma. As- Uh, um, that's Michelle De Palma, Allison said, now standing next to Will and peeking out. She looks a little older in person. I told you that, Will said, watching Lou shake the reporter's hand. The van drove away just a few minutes after arriving, and Lou went back to his son. She's really nice though. She was. She might not be so nice now. I bet a lot of people that we thought were nice are going to treat us differently. The paper and television are going to make Alex into a monster, especially if the other people aren't caught. That's crazy. Anyway, uh, Allison closed her eyes for a moment, like she was bearing down against a sharp pain. When she opened them, she were burning into him. I mean, when she opened them, they were burning into him. God, she said, I just realized how bad I want them to get caught. And not just for Alex either. They did something really horrible, but not only to our family, our Alex, all those, hold on, all those people who died at the bank, all their families again. She shut her eyes against the pain in her. She shut her eyes against the hurt in her. When she opened them, this time they were huge and wet. They broke his heart. They got Alex into a situation where he was doing things that he never would have done, she said, almost whispering now. And then they killed him. It's awful, Will agreed, aware for the first time all the rage building in him. Anger was an emotion he'd gotten skilled at suppressing. Moves worked well, writing even better. But now he was angry, like he'd been through most of letter, the latter. But the letter, I don't know. bitter years of his youth, it had a taste like iron in his mouth. What if they don't catch them? And I spend the rest of my life wondering who was with my boy when he died. Wondering why they killed him. Wondering if he knew he was going to die, which I don't think he knew he was going to die. Wills, wait a second. Will's mind wandered to the SIG 1911. That's that. Yeah. Okay. And he knew in his heart that giving the chance he could and would kill the person who had done this to Alex. Remember? I forgot to be alive. If you I can remember. Remember. I can remember. They was always in the room jamming out. To you, oh, I forgot to be alive. If you start screwing up both drums, and she starts getting worse, it's a nightmare in her purse. That woman first, and they marry her ring, and she starts playing little games. You better put that woman first. Y'all. All right. Anyway. All right. He could and would kill the person who had done this to Alex. Lou waved at them, got into his Cadillac, got me a Cadillac car. Oh, Lou waved at him. Lou waved at them, got into his Cadillac SUV, and drove away. Getting worse. And had to put that woman first. Nothing wearing her ring. And she starts playing little games. You better put that woman first. I'm just taking a break, y'all, from singing. From reading real quick. And the fights keep getting worse. Put a number in her purse. You better put that woman first. If you notice she ain't wearing her ring, and she starts playing little games, you better put that woman first. Lean it up on her. And the fights keep getting worse. Put a number in her purse. Put that woman first. And she starts playing little games. Better put that woman first. All right, y'all. All right, when the truck for News 8 showed up, Will let the blinds fall closed and left the room. Allison followed him. When will Isaac be here? She asked his back as soon as he's able from the sound of things. Good, she said, grabbing Will, spinning him around, and wrapping her arms around him. I'm scared, Will. You you keep getting this look on your face, and it's not a good look. I don't know what you're thinking, but when I said I wanted those bastards caught, I meant by the law. She she tightened her grip on him and said into his chest, "You need to remember that you're a bartender turned writer. You haven't been in a fist fight in years. You're going to see 50 before you see 40 again. And the low and the law is going to handle these guys when they find them. No matter what happens, you need to accept it, even if it's not enough to satisfy either one of us." Will nodded but knew he was lying when he did. He had a he had a hard streak in him. Those things don't go away. They lay dormant, dormant, dor- dormant. To what people say they don't know about you and me. Get it out your mind, 'cause it's jealousy. They don't know what others say. Don't listen to people say they don't know about you and me. Get it out your mind, 'cause jealousy. They don't know what others say. What people say. Mm, until they're needed, like a housewife able to lift a car off a trapped child. Mm, don't listen to what people say. They don't know about you and me. Get it out your mind, 'cause jealousy. They don't know what does to what people say. I'm listening to their music back there because they always jamming back there. Yeah, listen to the good music that I listen to. I got an old soul, baby. I got an old soul, baby. Okay? Let me listen to. I don't know this one. All right. Will knew in his heart that he that have if he have if he had half a chance, he would kill the men who had hurt his son. Will offered to mm, yeah, Will offered to help Isaac carry his stuff in, but his brother had only brought one bag and insisted that Will stay in the house. Once he was settled into Will's office as a temporary bedroom, Isaac Isaac assembled with Will and Allison at the kitchen table. Will laid out what Lou had told him, and Isaac agreed with all of it. Will, well, this, this, these are about the worst possible circumstances, said Isaac. But is it nice to see? But it, but it is nice to see you both. It's It's been too long. We've all been busy, Will said. That's just how it is you get older. When you get old. But we've all accepted that we've all accepted that's how things are supposed to be, said Allison. That's the real problem. She took a napkin from a caddy at the center of the table, wiping both eyes and then blowing her nose into it. I'm glad you were able to come be with us, Isaac. It means a lot. How's Daisy? Daisy's good. She sends her love. She wanted to come, but I told her this wasn't the trip she needed to make. Besides, she has classes all week, and the only and she only gets so much time off. I, however, wouldn't have missed this for anything. Have have either of you two eaten since you found out what happened? Will and Alice shook their heads, and Isaac stood up. Well, no, no one ever accused me of being Tom. What call 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 it chill? Oh no, but I I imagine I can whip up some food for us. But I don't want to hear any crap about not being hungry. Of course you're not hungry, but that doesn't mean you're not going to eat. Isaac set to bang oh. Isaac set to banging around in their cupboard, yeah, in their cupboards, and neither will neither Will or Alice stood to help. Allison took his hand and squeezed it, but Will felt nothing from the gesture. No warmth, just the rage building in his stomach. But he knew that eventually he was going to need to release it on something. The doorbell rang constantly despite Lou's sign, but none of them answered it, nor did they check to see who it was standing on the stoop. Both Will and Allison's phone rang constantly as well, and after the second reporter called, Isaac switched Will's inbox message to what Lou had suggested. The two brothers talked little to each other, but I mean, the two brothers talked little to each other. What the old frigidity coming back without effort. Allison seemed not to notice, but Will knew that she could see the divide growing slowly between them. Try as he might, Will knew that Isaac held him at least partially responsible for what had happened to Alex, and knowing that his older brother was right and polite enough not to mention it made Will resent him even more, whether it was fair or not. They slept a fitful sleep. What? They slept a fitful sleep. Will with unspeakable and thankfully unremembered nightmares. Allison tossing and turning at his side. The second day went the same as the first. Allison was quiet, the two brothers' interactions with each other forced. Lou called twice, once to see how they were doing, the next to schedule a meeting for the following afternoon to ah prepare a press release. Late in the morning, late in the morning, Will's cell phone rang for what felt like the thousandth time. This time the screen said Kent County Sheriff's Department. Will answered immediately. This is Will Daniels. Mr. Daniels, this is Detective Van Endel. Do you have information on my son? Isaac and Allison had gone dead silent. A pin dropping would have been an explosion in the kitchen. Them. Is your wife with you? I'm comfortable with being on speaker if you want her to be able to hear this right from me. She said she is. So is my brother, but this fine. All right, Mr. Daniels, this is going to sound like bad news. It's not, at least not all bad, but it's probably not what you were hoping to hear. First off, First off, your son remains are going to continue to be analyzed by the medical examiner for at least 3 more days. Damn. I was hoping to hear you'd caught them. Anything else is all the same to me. Your son was shot with a revolver made by the British Your son was shot with a revolver made by the Brazilian firearm manufacturer Taurus. It's a it's a gun called the Judge. It's a gun called the Judge, and it's basically a shotgun in pistol form. How is that legal? How is that legal? I thought shotguns had to be a certain size. Oh, this this judge pistol rides a legal tightrope because it has a slightly rifled barrel and can fire pistol rounds I mean along with shotgun shells. It's perfectly legal. Now, here's here's the problem starts. Your son was killed by a 14 I mean your son was killed by a 410 shotgun self-defense load. Turns out, even if the judge had fired a bullet, it wouldn't have carried identifiable rifling marks, but the points completely moot with a shotgun round. Pellets are pellets. So it it would be impossible to tell exactly which pistol was used to shoot my son. Yes, preciously, said Van Endel. And of course, that's not the news you were hoping to get. That said, there's only been two other felons committed with a judge rifle in the state of Michigan in the last 12 months. One of them was a father who shot his daughter's boyfriend in the stomach and groin with birdshot. Damn. The other is a still unsolved murder that took place about 3 weeks ago. A 16-year-old alleged prostitute named Cassidy Ray Reynolds. Cassidy Reynolds was shot in the back of the head with a judge. Oh my god, y'all. What the fuck did I just get myself into all this killing shit? just just as interesting, her body was burned with gasoline used as an accelerate, like it was with Alex, and the body was found in Kent County. Will Will sucked in air through his teeth. His heart pounded in his chest and his mind racing. So you think that whoever killed that girl was involved with Alex's death? Van Van Endale snorted. Hell of a hell of a consequence that the I mean not consequence. Hell of a coincidence. Consequence, a coincidence, and a oh. I was about to get to rapping. I was about to get to rapping on y'all ass. All right, y'all. We about to be finishing. We about to. I'm trying to read at least like half this book. Hell of a coincidence that the only two unsolved crimes involved involving one of those pistols took place in the same county. But, and both on the north end. The problem is that even if we caught the guy who killed them with the pistol, the gun is basically unlinkable to the crimes. What what that means for your son, the girl, and our still unidentified suspect is that he is going to have to trip up massively in some other way to get caught. The plus side, men who rob banks aren't aren't known for good decision making after the fact. After, first of all, nearly all of the money they stole was marked. If so much as one of those bills turns up again, we'll be able to trace exactly where it was spent and likely by whom. Secondly, these guys, as messed up as it may sound, are going to be proud of what they did. They're not going to be able to keep it to themselves. Braggings to women, that sort of thing, likely for us, that sort of bragging makes the wrong kind of impression on most people, especially women. Third, they might try and pull off something like this again, and maybe they'll make one mistake doing it, but you weren't able you weren't able to find any mistakes they made this time. Not yet. Signed, Van Endale. I'm sorry, I don't have better news for you, but I figured I figure honesty is the best policy at this point. Speaking of which, is there anything you wanted to tell me about your own history? I know you're a bit removed from from that scene, but I have to ask. Will felt himself redden, shocked to have this soft, what a caution place. I don't know, placed at his feet by the detective, but both the surprise and anger faded quickly. He stood from the table and left the dining room, covering the bottom of the phone with his right hand and ignoring the reactions of his wife and brother. Detective Van Endale, there is nothing in my past, even the most checkered parts of it, that that attaches me to this robbery in any way. The only guilt I have is that I raised a son who could have something so monstrous. I mean, I raised a son who could do something so monstrous. I don't mean to offend I don't mean to offend Mr. Daniels. You do have to see no, you do have to see no small coincidence in your son being involved in this type of activity and your past affiliation with a group pretty well known for simply what curricular simply extracurricular exploits. Will signed long time ago another world, one one that Alex has never had any contact with. Maybe so, Mr. Daniels. All I ask is that you think about your past and whether or not anything there could tie into more current events. I'll be in touch, Mr. Daniels. Think about what I said. The line went dead, and when Will turned he saw Allison and he saw Allison and Isaac standing behind him in the hallway. He felt himself flush as though they'd caught him at something shameful. Van Endel's digging into his past for some connection maybe him feel made for some connection made him feel guilty in some perverse maybe in some perverse way, and he knew that was exactly what Van Endel had intended to happen if Will were involved, which and what which which an accusation. Oh, that's what it was called. Accusation would have would have radically him rattled him to his core, and Van Endel would have sensed it. Instead, it just made Will hate his past even more. Will quickly relayed everything that Van Endel had said. His wife and brother had managed to distill most of the conversation from his end of the phone, but he filled them in on the details. There were no other suspects. There were no leads at this time. There was little to hope for, but there was little to hope for. He left out the odd semi-accusation that had been looped his way through, though, looped his way, though he could tell by the way Isaac was looking at him that at the very least his brother suspected why had he left the room, and Will would have been surprised if his wife didn't suspect the same thing. So what now? Allison asks. We just wait for the media to leave us alone. Will stared at the smoked glass tabletop. He was bone tired and had never felt so useless, which was saying something considering the behavior he'd engaged in before getting his head straight. Isaac spoke up. One of you mentioned your lawyer wanted to get together and release a statement to the press. Why don't we get hold of him and get that sorted out? Will plucked himself. Will plucked his cell from the table and took it with him down the hall to the entryway. He eased apart two slates the in the blinds over the window next to the door and could see at least two news trucks parked in front of the house. What do they want from us? My son is dead. What could I say that wouldn't be horrible to hear? Clicking his phone on, Will called Lou. No shenanigans this time, Lou answered as himself on the first ring. Lou is Will. I spoke with the police and Allison and I are ready to stop sitting on our hands and work on the press release that you mentioned. Well, I'd hate to even imagine what my colleagues would say about a lawyer who'd make two house calls in the same week and without without raising his rates, no less. But what am I going to do with a pair of shut-ins for clients? You still drawing a crowd outside, I imagine. We could have put we should have put in put it in bleachers. What? Um, I'll be over shortly, and you can save the unsatisfying conversation you had with the police for when I get there. Lou hung up on his end before Will could say anything, and he returned to the kitchen, the one room in the house that had retained any semblance semblance of normalcy. Lou's on his way. It took Lou a long time to get to them. When he finally did knock at the door, Will, Allison, and Isaac all stood at the same time. Isaac waved them away. Don't even think about it, he said, and walked to the door. Will followed most of the way down the hall and watched as his older brother opened the door. In the short window before Lou walked in, but the door was open. Will could see cameras pointing at and into his house. Then the door was shut, and Lou and Isaac followed Will back into the kitchen. It turned out that Lou had arrived only about a half hour after Will had hung up the phone, but it had taken him the better part of but what? But it had taken him the better part of another hour to make his way into the house, feeding the beast. Lou said, then looked them over. Will, Allison, how are we holding up? Good, said Allison, with Will just nodded. I noticed some family resemblance on your doorman. Are you hold on, hold up. I noticed some family resemblance on your doorman. You are Will's older brother? Yes, Isaac. Nice to meet you. The two men shook hands and then sat at the table, Lou across from Will, Isaac across from Allison. I'm glad you were able to come visit for a little while, Isaac. These two people are going to need some help. You can be sure of that. First things first, I want you guys to get me up to speed on where the cops are at with this whole thing. I'm not at a point where I feel like I need all of your contact with them to be face to face with me sitting next to you, or even with me listening in as counsel on call on phone calls, but we might get there. So where are we at with the law? Do they have any leads? Will told most of the story, but Allison and Isaac filled in the gaps, even mentioning things that Will hadn't told them, at least not through words. I could tell by watching Will that the detective was prod prodding what I don't know, prodding him, trying to get some kind of emotional response out of him, said Isaac. I mean, said Allison. I told I don't see how he would think we were involved, and if he even suspects that, then it must mean that the cops are already desperate. Cops are always desperate, said Lou. That's how people get that's how people get fucking red railroad all the time. A cop doesn't need to catch the right guy for the crime. He needs to catch a guy that a jury will think is the right guy for the crime. Sometimes that means they catch the bad guys. Let's get shit out of here. Sometimes that means they catch the bad guys. Sometimes it means some Sometimes it means some poor asshole is up to his knees in bullshit. I had a case a few years ago where a man I wound up working with had been held for 6 months on a $100,000 bond for possession of heroin. Now, this poor guy had maintained since day one that the heroin that he had just that he was just a bag of hold up since day one that the heroin that he had was just a bag of vitamins that had melted together while he ran in the rain. Bullshit, said the cops. We tested it, heroin. Except, guess what? They hadn't. And my client was telling the truth. You will never believe the hudders, huddles, hold on. I had I had to jump just to get that judge to finally test the fucking dope that put some egg on some people's faces. Let let me tell you, here's the thing though. By then the guy had lost his wife over it, had terrible custody issues, the whole 9 yards. I begged that poor asshole to sue the hell out of them, but he wouldn't. Settled out of court for like $50,000, pennies for what he could have had, pennies for what he deserved. Lou's story had only made the three of them feel worse, and he must have seen it on their faces. But seriously, guys, things like that are few and far between. He clapped his hands. Let's go. Let's let's get to it then. We What we need to do now is figure out what exactly you want to say to the press plus the community at large, and then get it to them. We either establish that you're victims in this, and you've lost your son for God's sake, or you risk coming off as com- what complicity in what happened. I don't think it does anything any I mean I don't think it does anything, I mean does anyone any good to waiting keep on waiting, you or them. What do you want to say? I'm not sure, said Allison. I guess I would want people to know that as his mother, this affects me very deeply, and even though I'm as horrified as everyone else by what Alex did, and certainly ashamed, I'm still mourning my son. Absolutely. There are a few factors in play here, though, guys. What you say, how it's perceived by the media, and then how that spin is taken by the public. Now, we need to word this in a way that elo- that elicity sympathize sympathy without coming anywhere close to outright asking for it. And then there's the fact that you will are in the public eye at a little bit. Hold up. Oh, then there's the fact that you will are in the public eye a little bit. That's another potential complication. It's extremely important that we handle it right. All right, I'm gonna read this last part, y'all. Um, Hold on. And I'm gonna just read this last part, y'all. And I'm gonna let y'all go to sleep. Will gave his head a shake as if to jar it into service. What the hell are you talking about? Leo open palms on the table. The novels you've written will. Oh, the novels you've written will. No one would ever contact them. No one would ever connect them to anything insidious under normal circumstances, but people get killed in both of them. And in the second one, quite a number of them, if I recall correctly. You are fucking kidding me. Those are stories. I'm not saying that it would be fair for you to be judged over a work of fiction, but it's reality. People, and lots of them, are going to be judging your actions as parents, and you need to accept that. No matter how well we spin this, and no matter how well the media behaves, there are still going to be people out there that regards you as at best bad parents. The kitchen went quiet outside, and engine rumbled. Oh, outside an engine rumbled. One of the TV trucks, maybe shifting its position, then went silent. A black emptiness yawned open in will, like like opening a tap. He let the rage fill fill it. Sorry. Well, at at worst, what will they think? He snapped. We aren't the best parents, me especially, but we did the best we could with Alex. No, you didn't. And just and just that and just like that, the rage drained out of him again. That, said Lou, is the exact opposite of the attitude you need to have. Think country, country. I don't know. I'm going to put something together, and then we'll all sit here and go over it. And maybe I'll let you make some suggestions, as long as you're polite feel and you don't make me feel too bad about needing to edit my work, which which reminds me, we have talked to your publisher yet, Will? Hold up, which reminds me, have you talked to your publisher yet, Will? Shit. And we're gonna stop there, y'all. It's been a great. It's been a lovely book. We stopped on page 43, and we're going to be resuming on 44 when we come back. So I'll I'll fold it on 44, because that's what we're going to be resuming when I come back to reading this, y'all. But let me know how you like this book, and um yeah, y'all. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with any and everybody. Let them know what your girl is doing on this channel. I love y'all so much. Um, well, I love y'all so much. I appreciate all the love and support. Comment down below how you like this book. And yeah. I'll see y'all. Good night, y'all. Bye, y'all.